All right, Judge, if I can continue.
Yeah, 1 minute is still loading.
Okay.
Okay, we are officially back on the record. We're resuming the hearing with respect to the state of Georgia versus Mr. Brock. At this time, we had a detective testifying. He will resume his testimony. ADA Freeman, your witness.
Before we had a brief recess, I sent you a copy of your warrant for theft by taking for you to refresh your recollection regarding the estimated value of the pickup truck. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you had an opportunity to review your warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was the estimated value of the pickup truck that was allegedly taken by Mr. Brock?
It was estimated at $50,000.
Did Mr. Brock have permission to take the vehicle?
He did not.
The video surveillance that was taken, could Mr. Brock be seen on that video surveillance driving away in the vehicle?
Yes, they did see the vehicle driving away while Mr. Brock was at the scene at the time.
Did Mr. Brock drive the vehicle away?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, he did.
Okay. Did all of this happen in Clayton County?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay. Attorney Jones, your witness.
Detective Rowland, did you review the video?
I did.
And isn't it true in the video, the person that is allegedly broken in had a do-rag covering his face?
On one portion of that video, yes.
And isn't it also true that you could not see the person's face to identify who the actual person was that broke in?
On that first view on the first camera view, yes.
And isn't it also true that the vehicle that you just talked about, the theft by taking, was not found at any property that Mr. Brock actually resides at?
That's correct. It was not.
And the alleged vehicle was just in some area that they said was near where he supposedly resides, correct?
That is also correct.
And so, as you testify today, you cannot say that Mr. Brock actually took the vehicle, correct?
I cannot say.
Okay. And as you testify today, in the video, you could not see Mr. Brock taking any of the numerous other items that was supposedly taken out of the business, correct?
That's incorrect. Another camera view showed differently.
A camera view showed one item being removed, correct?
One camera view showed a person having their face covered. However, another camera view showed Mr. Brock's face being present at the time, at the scene, and then during the crime.
And you weren't the first police officer to arrive, correct?
No, I wasn't.
There is another officer that actually viewed the cameras on the 20th, correct?
I can't say for that, but somebody else did go before me, yes.
And what day did you actually go back out to review the camera footage?
You said when?
Yes.
I went back. Second. It was October 26th.
Okay. Now, is it your testimony today that you received another camera footage?
He has more than one camera footage for the property, if that makes sense.
So if the previous officer that went on October 20th stated only one camera.
I want to object, Your Honor, that officer is not here to testify. And so I think it's improper what Ms. Jones is asking Detective Rowland to testify to another officer's report.
Okay, Attorney Jones, your response?
I'll ask a follow-up question on that, Your Honor.
Okay, you're gonna withdraw your
I'll
question?
ask a different question.
Okay, thank you.
Detective Rowland, did you review the actual file when it was sent to you?
I was present at the time. They still had copies. I was viewing it as they were viewing it.
And did you ask them at one point in time if they showed both copies to any other police officers that were present?
No, I did not.
And is it usual custom for you guys to receive the copies of any video footage that they have?
We make every attempt to retrieve and get copies and secure copies. Yeah.
And did you compare the video footage that your police officer received on October 20th to the video footage that they showed you on October 26th?
I only went by the video footage that I was there presently to watch with them.
Did you get a copy of the video footage that you were present to watch with them that day?
I did.
So you have two separate video footage that day?
It's only one video footage, but it shows different camera views, if I'm making sense to you.
Do you know of a previous camera that was disabled?
I believe there was one that was attempted to be disabled. I'm not sure it was fully disabled. I can't recall.
And did you put in that video footage that you also received, did you put it into record to have it tested to make sure it's accurate video footage?
No, I did not.
Were you advised that the previous statement was the person who stole, that the truck was stole prior to the break-in?
I didn't understand your question. Say that again.
Were you advised by Mr. Mathis and Mr. Zondervan that the truck was stolen prior to the break-in?
No.
And were you advised by Mr. Zolder and Mr. Mathis that they made a previous written report about the truck being stolen?
I'm sorry. Yes, you absolutely are correct. There are two different case numbers for the same incident. If you need me to clarify, I believe I can.
So yeah, please do explain.
The incident for the burglary, they didn't realize the vehicle was stolen until after they arrived to investigate the initial burglary. So they did the initial burglary over the phone. So once the victim and owner of the business arrived to realize the vehicle was stolen. So another report generated.
I know you had your thing and I just want to clarify, I think you may have it backwards. Did they not do a stolen report for an F-150 prior to that date?
F-250, and it was, let me see if I can get it straight first. So, and I believe you're correct. I believe it was the other way around. The burglary took place, wasn't sure it was before or after the actual stolen vehicle, but it was during the same time. They just didn't know it at the time.
And
Only because one can be taken, the report can be taken over the phone. So it wasn't an officer that actually showed up. So it wasn't until after they determined, when the officer showed up, that they determined that this incident took place at the same time. So it's technically should be one incident.
And again, the F-250 was found at a house that was not Mr. Brock's house, correct?
Yeah, I don't think it was at a house at all, but it was near his so-called last known addresses, but it was not at the address, no.
And the address that you were provided came from Mr. Zondervan, correct?
That is correct.
And at no point in time was Mr. Brock ever around near that vehicle when it was retrieved in the daytime, correct?
That vehicle was located unoccupied and no one was around at the time.
And Mr. Zondervan and Mr. Mathis, were you advised that Mr. Brock knew the code to get into the building?
Yes, Mr. Brock he was aware of a code, or should have been aware of a code, being a former employee at that location.
And it was your testimony that the way that the person entered into the building was through a broken window?
There's a part of the interior part of the business that you have to use a code for, but in order to get it into the main business, there was force used. It's not a code to get into the main business. You either have key access, but another portion inside the vehicle, inside the business has a keypad access.
And at that camera, and you were advised that there was a camera at that door, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. Yes.
And at that camera as well, you could not see the person's face who entered the building, correct?
No, you could see inside the building. There was a better camera view of the defendant.
At the camera where the glass door, you could not see a person's face, correct?
When you say glass door, you mean on the exterior of the
where
business?
The glass door was shattered to enter the building.
I believe that is where he covered up at, is at that point, if I'm not mistaken.
There was a do-rag over the person's face, correct?
That's correct.
And then in the building itself, by the Bay Area, that other camera, there was a do-rag over the person's face as well, correct?
No, at one point he failed to conceal his face at one point.
At which camera was that?
That's when they was able to identify him positively.
And they said this directly to you?
They did. And they gave me 100% definitive answer that was Mr. Brock.
And was it not Mr. Zondervan that stated he could not identify Mr. Brock?
No, Mr. Zondervan told me. He was very familiar with him because he worked with him alongside of him. He also was familiar with the limp that he had.
Was it not, were you advised that Mr. Brock was was incarcerated in Fulton County?
No, that was a picture that I saw of him when I was doing my investigation at my desk. I was able to pull up a photo showing that he had not too long been released or something to that effect.
And you mean after October 26th when you actually looked at it, correct?
Yeah, it would have been after my initial follow-up.
So you don't know when he was actually incarcerated in Fulton County, correct?
No, I don't know the exact time or anything, but the photo was it was a fresh photo. It was a new photo. It based on my own personal video, and the picture that I saw was very close in resemblance.
I have no further questions.
Okay, ADA Freeman.
Judge, I just wanted to clear one thing up with Detective Rowling regarding taking the the pickup truck, was the owner able to positively identify Mr. Brock as the person driving the vehicle from the business?
Yes, that is correct, along with the items inside the pickup truck.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any other witnesses?
No, the state rests.
Okay, Attorney Jones, do you have any witnesses?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, we're ready for closings. ADA Freeman.
The state waives opening.
Okay, Attorney Jones.
Your Honor, in this case, you have the burglary incident. I do understand that the detective is now saying that he actually can see the face. I would state that the fact that the do-rag was over the face, that there was not probable cause to even identify the defendant on the burglary in and of itself. The only theft by taking items that the detective testified to was an F-250, Your Honor. And in that, he just testified that he believed the approximate value was $50,000. He did not give any testimony on the explanation of why a 2013 F-250 would be $50,000. He did not give any evaluation of it, which would go to even the mileage on the vehicle, any damage, anything that goes with it that would be proof of the actual F-250. But beyond that, the theft by taking, I do understand again that they're trying to say that the video now shows the defendant's face. However, the vehicle was found at a location or a house that was not Mr. Brock's location. It was not Mr. Brock's house. Just happens to be in an area that they were their attraction to it, and there's no other evidence that will link Mr. Brock to it. So we believe that both charges should not be bound over to the Superior Court.
Okay, ADA Freeman.
Thank you, Judge. We're asking that both charges be bound over to Superior Court. I'm not sure why Attorney Jones referred to Detective Rawlings when she said that he's now saying this or we're now saying that. No one has made any additional statements. This is Detective Rawlings has testified consistently in this hearing. The video, he stated there was more than one view of the video. The video showed Mr. Brock in the establishment when he did not have permission to be there. He did not have consent to be there. He took items. The owner of the vehicle was able to positively identify Mr. Brock as driving the vehicle away. When they found the vehicle, they also, I believe Detective Rawlings stated that the tools that were taken were found inside of there. So we believe that the testimony is certainly sufficient to bind both of these charges over to Superior Court.
Okay. Based on the evidence and testimony presented by the parties, I do find sufficient cause to bind over both charges against Mr. Brock, specifically for the charge of burglary as well as the charge of theft by taking. That is the order of the court today, and that will conclude the preliminary hearing for partner Robert Brock. I want to thank both parties for their presentation of the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
And Judge, if you wanted to do LaShonda Campbell-Bond